Hello Maker! Today we are going to talk about LEDs. LEDs are those little lights that can be found in almost every electronic device we have at home, such as coffee machines, webcams, speakers, LED strips, and so on. Let me show you the standard LED we typically use for prototyping. Or better yet, several of them. An LED is an electronic component made up of two legs called leads. The longer leg is called the anode, which should always be connected to the positive side of a power source. The shorter leg is called the cathode, which should always be connected to the negative side, commonly referred to as ground. Another interesting point is that the true color of an LED doesn't come from its plastic casing. The casing simply helps us to identify the color when the LED is turned on. The word LED is the acronym for light emitting diode, which means inside the LED there is a tiny chip made of specific semiconductor material that determines the color of the light the LED emits, whether it's red, blue, green, or any other color. By the way, we can also have RGB LEDs, like this one, which has 4 legs instead of 2. But how does that actually work? Well, the electric current is made up of electrons. And when those electrons pass through the semiconductor, they release energy in form of light. These tiny light particles are called photons. In short, the composition of the semiconductor controls the energy of each photon, and that's what makes the LED shine in different colors. For example, higher energy photons create blue light, while lower energy photons create red light. So, now that we covered the color fun facts, let's do a quick experiment to clarify the concept of current direction on an LED. Grab a 3-volt battery and a red LED. Let's go. This is the positive side of the battery, and this is the negative side. If you connect the anode to the negative and the cathode to the positive, the light won't turn on. But if you connect the anode to the positive and the cathode to the negative, the LED lights up. This shows that an LED only allows the current to flow in one direction, and that's exactly why it has 2 legs with different lengths. The longer one should always be connected to the positive voltage, because that's the direction the current flows. For this example, I was using a 3-volt battery, but what happens if I decided to power it with a 1.5 volts or even a 9-volt battery? Do you think the LED will always turn on? Usually, when you buy LEDs, the supplier provides you a datasheet with all the technical specifications of the component. In the case of LEDs, there are 2 or 3 key pieces of information you should always keep in mind: the operating current and the minimum and maximum voltage. The LEDs I'm using right now have the following reference values. As you can see on this table, for a red LED, we should apply a voltage between 1.8 volts and 2 volts. Just keep in mind that these values may vary depending on your supplier. It's important to know that each LED has a minimum and maximum voltage. If you apply less than the minimum, the LED usually won't light up. If you apply more than the maximum, you'll probably burn it out. Now, let's test this theory connecting this 1.5 battery to the LED. Let's connect the positive terminal to the anode and the negative terminal to the cathode. And as you can see, it doesn't light up. If I try the same thing with 2 1.5 volt batteries, which give us 3 volts, the LED turns on. To make things easier, I will use a breadboard to build the same circuit. A breadboard is a tool that lets you test your circuit before creating a final PCB. Basically, it's for prototyping. As you can see, it has 2 long power rails running down each side, one marked plus and one marked minus. These rails are connected vertically along the entire length. The two main sections in the middle are separated by a center gap. The outer rails are where we connect the positive and negative from our power source. If we connect the battery to one side of the breadboard, we are powering only that side. To power both sides, we just connect plus to plus and minus to minus using jumper wires. I will use different colors so you can easily tell them apart. The middle section of the breadboard has rows and columns labeled with numbers and letters. Within the main sections, each row is electrically connected, but columns are not. If we place two wires in the same row, they share the same node. So, we should always connect the different leads of a component on different rows, regardless of the column. Now, let's place our LED on the breadboard. First, place the long leg, or the anode, in row 5, column E, and the short leg, the cathode, in row 7, column E. After that, connect a jumper wire from the positive rail to row 5. And another from the negative rail to row 7. Next, we need to power the LED. And there you go, the LED lights up. But there's a small problem here. As you can remember, the datasheet says the maximum voltage is 2 volts, but we have 3 volts. Does it work? Yes, but it might not last long because we are providing a voltage value bigger than the supplier suggests. To fix that, we use resistors. These little components limit the current and control the voltage reaching the LED. There are many different resistor values. For example, this one is 10 ohms, and this one is 10 mega ohms. You can identify the value of a resistor by looking at its color bands. Some resistors have 4 bands, while others have 5. You can find all the information you need in reference tables, like this one. Another way to verify a resistor's value is by using a multimeter. You just need to turn on the multimeter and rotate the dial to the ohm symbol. Then, connect the black probe to the COM port and the red probe to the port that shows multiple measurement units. Place each probe on a different end of the resistor. As you can see on the screen, the actual resistance value appears. This is a simple way to make sure you read the color code table correctly. Now, we need to calculate the resistor value that will bring the voltage down to the level specified on the datasheet. For that, we can thank to the German physicist Georg Siemens Ohm, who in 1827 established the relationship between voltage, current, and resistance, known as Ohm's law. This means that the voltage across a component is equal to the current flowing through it multiplied by its resistance. Now, looking at our circuit, we already know the LED should have a current of 20 milliamps and a maximum forward voltage of 2 volts. So, doing some math, the resistor value is equal to the source voltage minus the LED voltage divided by the current. So, here R equals 3 volts minus 2 volts. divided by 0.02 amps, which gives 50 ohms. You don't need the exact resistor value. Just use the closest value you have. For example, in my case, I'm going to use this 100 ohm resistor. Let's go. Let's add it to our circuit. Remove the jumper wire that connects the anode to the positive rail and add your resistor. This way, our LED will last much longer because we are making sure the anode receives the correct amount of current. On the other hand, if you try using a larger resistor, like 10 kiloohms, the LED will still light up, but will be dimmer, because less current passes through it, which means fewer electrons reach the semiconductor, and fewer photons are released. We have already seen what happens when you use a 1.5 volt battery and a 3 volt battery, but what if we use a 9 volt battery in our circuit? Using the same equation, we can calculate the resistor needed to protect the LED from a 9 volt power source. So, we need at least a 350 ohm resistor. For this example, I won't test it on a physical breadboard. Instead, I will do it on Tinkercad. Tinkercad is an online platform that allows you to build all kinds of things. It even includes a tool called Circuits, where you can create and test virtual circuits before you buy your physical components. After signing up, you can click Create Circuit to start a new project. Tinkercad will automatically assign a name to your project, but you can rename it to something like My First LED Project. On the right panel, you'll find all kinds of components: LEDs, breadboards, batteries, even Arduinos. But that's a topic for another video. For now, I just want to show you that there is an alternative way to test your projects. So let's add all the components. Grab the breadboard, the 9 volt battery, an LED, and a 330 ohm resistor. I will quickly connect the jumper wires. So here's the result after adding everything. When you press play, you will see the LED light up. Cool, right? But do you want to see something even cooler? If you press stop, remove the resistor, and then press play again, the LED appears burned out. That's why Tinkercad is so useful. It lets you simulate your circuit safely before you actually build them. So now do you understand the science behind the LEDs you have at home? In the next video, I'm going to show you how to control them using this Arduino. If you enjoyed this video, please give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next one. Bye bye, maker!